Online pornography websites such as Pornhub and OnlyFans have benefited greatly in the 21st century's emergence of digital technologies. As traditional forms of erotica shift from print to videography, more and more users can access these services in the touch of a screen. Sex trafficking, as a growing epidemic in the developed technological world, is posing many threats on vulnerable victims of the industry, leaving public users unaware of the legality involved in what they choose to watch, thus leaving the law questioning who is responsible for the exploitation of people who are unwillingly engaging in sexual activity on these platforms. The hypersexualization of today's media has 30,000 people watching porn on the internet at every second. But does anyone really know what's happening behind the camera? A 2017 study shows statistics that state by some estimates 4.8 million people are trapped or forced into sexual exploitation globally. But it is important to note that because sex trafficking is such an underground industry, these numbers are expected to be way higher. The same study showed that more than 1 in 5 of these victims were underage, with the average age being brought into the industry 13. Due to the nature and accessibility of the internet, many of these traffic victims have claimed being advertised online and/or engaging in sexual videography without consent. One survey showed that 63% of underage sex trafficking victims said they had been advertised or sold online. Look around the room. That's over half of our class. When someone is trafficked, it is likely their pimp or kidnapper who has control over their state, posting these non-consenting videos of the victims online to porn websites such as Pornhub, which is where the question of who is to be legally held responsible arises. It's estimated that human trafficking earns roughly $150 billion a year for traffickers, of which $100 billion comes from commercial sexual exploitation from websites such as Pornhub. Pornhub allows for users to receive share in the ad revenue generated by videos uploaded, which is a huge incentive for pimps and kidnappers to post their sex slaves online. Petitions, protests, and general displeasure has been voiced by many sex trafficker abolitionists who state websites like this are paving golden roads for traffickers to continue to earn off their victims. While Pornhub specifically does have restrictions in place to minimize the trafficking risk, many protesters and victims state that it isn't enough. Fox News spoke on behalf of this problem, featuring a story on their platform where Pornhub verified a missing 15-year-old girl and allowed 58 videos of her rape and abuse to be streamed and profited from, showing the site's lack in moderation. These problems are closer than you think. One case posted by CTV News in 2020 presents a case where a Nanaimo man had been sentenced to more than 3 years in prison for transporting a youth for sexual services earlier in 2020. Not all sex work is illegal work. There are porn stars who engage in consensual sexual activity for a living, and if they are signed with a professional firm, then contracts, lists, and waivers will be signed prior to shooting a film. However, this is not the case for non-consenting slaves whose signatures are often forged, or they are threatened, beaten, or, in other ways you can imagine, traumatized, forced to sign. The complicated nature of tracking and monitoring sex trafficking has added to the confusion of who is to be held responsible for trafficking cases. However, it appears that there are a lot of people and platforms responsible when online exploitation boundaries are crossed. To stop online exploitation of innocent victims, major societal shifts would need to be implemented, such as crowdsourcing, adjustments to the 13th Amendment, or abolishing the personal upload function available on many porn sites. Although there is still a lot to be learned about the sex trafficking industry, operations such as the Polaris project and more have launched donation incentives that fund research and programs to help sex trafficked victims, because the more we know, the faster we can end it.